Well, good evening and welcome to Greek Night at the Online Wine Tasting Club. For those of you who are following us on Instagram yesterday and we're a little concerned that Alex wasn't going to be with us this evening, he drove to Bicester and found this guy.
Can you believe he drove all the way out to the People's Republic of Bicester? And I wasn't prepared for this. He just said, "Do you want to come and do a wine tasting?" I went, "Yeah." I didn't realise I was going to be hosting.
That's very good of you.
No, that's just what I do. No need to thank me.
For those of you who have been with us for a little while, you might know Lee. If you don't know Lee, this is Lee, Wine Man 147, WSET diploma holder, educator, the man of many things. So you might actually get some really, really good information this month.
I make no promises.
Or a song.
What I can guarantee is there will be information. Whether it is good, that's a movable term, isn't it? As we know.
Well, pop that in the chat.
But there is a thing there.
So we've got a lot of fun this evening, and before we start, it is Greek Wine Month this month, which is very exciting, and I just want to say a massive thank you to Westbury Communications because they've helped us out with getting some of the content, the videos, getting in touch with the winemakers to make sure we've got loads of cool, fun information. But first things first, we should probably get wine number one in the glass because that's what we're here for. And we are starting with a little bit of the Ribolla from Kefalonia. And while I pour this, do you want to give a little talk about islands and Greece and?
Well, so Greece as a whole is made up of like 223. It's made up of a number of islands, which is 3 digits, and I think it's about 223. So Greece is incredibly diverse because you've got this series of islands that sit at different latitudes. It's quite mountainous, and each one brings its own set of characteristics. So you just said, let's get cool and fun and interesting. Not a lot of places get much more than that than Greece because you can't just go Greece is this because there's so many different areas and aspects and mountains and ocean and climate and awesome stuff that makes wine happen, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And as you're tasting along, for those who know, we've got Slido as always, so you can scan the QR code or you can go to towtc.co.uk/taste and put your tasting notes in as we go. So Kefalonia, I've spelt it multiple ways and multiple things in there because you can spell it multiple ways, can't you? Depending
there's K's, there's C's, there's all the letters of the alphabet. And let's remember the alphabet was kind of not necessarily invented here, but they made a big thing of the alphabet here. They used a lot of it.
Absolutely.
They're big fans of the alphabet.
So Kefalonia, we're going westish Greece, aren't we?
Yes.
And we're out in the islands. So you've got this little island chain, you've Kefalonia, Zathos, and lots of other bits and pieces over there. So what you find with a lot of these wines is you'll get this lovely kind of like salinity going on in there, loads of texture to it, some really good, fun stuff.
What we find here is altitude. I sort of mentioned it earlier. You've got altitude and you've got slopes, but you've got very thin, very poor soils. The only sort of WSET people doing their WSET will go, what does that mean about yields and stuff? Think about it. You know what it means. But the soils here are very thin and very poor. And in fact, the Italians who claim to have discovered Greece, in many ways, sort of Greece discovered Italy, and there was a lot of cross-pollination. The Italians used to refer to wines made here as vino di sasso, stone wines, because there's this mineral. Are we allowed to use the term mineral? Is that all right?
Well, I am happy with that. You work for WSET.
Yeah, he is. I'm not allowed to say mineral. That was a test. But this really bright, fresh, zesty. You've got great preservation of acidity, partly soil, partly from altitude here as well. Whole interesting set of characteristics on Kefalonia. What are we tasting? What is this grape we're tasting again? It's a Ribolla.
So this is a Ribolla, and it's its very own thing. When people first kind of discovered it, they thought it was related to Ribolla Gialla, which you find in Italy.
Which would make sense.
And there's been a lot of that around the world, that grapes have very similar names because they thought it could be, couldn't be, might be, not be. And in the joy of, the new age of DNA testing, we're able to find out that it actually is its very own thing. But we could jabber on about this for a little while. But while you put your tasting notes in, we're just going to pop to the first video and get to see the vineyard, listen to the winemaker, and find out a little bit more about this wine. So we've just got a couple of minutes, so we'll pop in here and we'll see you in a couple of minutes.
Hi everyone, This is Kostas Bazigos. I'm the director of the Robola Winery, Orealios Gea, here in the beautiful island of Kefalonia. Kefalonia is an island in the western part of Greece, and it's famous for its unique indigenous grape varieties. The most well-known of them is Robola. Robola is a grape variety that is cultivated in the mountainous area of Kefalonia at an elevation of between 300 and 800 meters. And one of the best examples of white wine that this variety produces is this one. San Gerasimo is a delicate, elegant, fresh and crispy white wine that pairs fantastically with fish or white meat, but also as a very food-friendly wine can escort very nicely the majority of the Mediterranean dishes that we offer here in Greece. This 400 years old olive tree is a landmark for our winery and is located in the visitors area of our winery, which accepts more than 60,000 people per year. So that's it. Hope I see you here at some point soon.
So yeah, I just think it's wonderful that you see the place and it brings it to life, and the fact that it's for Greek wine, it's hot enough that you've got olives there, but also because you've got the island, you've got enough breeze coming through to be able to, get that balance of temperatures, to be able to keep the acidity in the wine, to keep that freshness, as long as it's beautiful, beautiful fruit. But yeah, so what I like about this, we'll pop the tasting notes back up just while we have a little chat through. The fact this is a cooperative that brings all these grapes together, and that can, depending where you are in the world, either be a very, very good thing or can also be a very, very bad thing.
Yes.
On the bad side, it's I've got a load of grapes, I don't know what to do with it, let's chuck in the middle and hope for the best. Which there are a fair few
it
areas
still
like that,
goes on,
and you end up with this kind of like bulk, mass-produced kind of stuff. And then you've got the opportunity of people have carefully grown grapes in different places, different parts of the island that they would have always made table wine, and they don't have enough grapes to do anything commercial themselves by the time they build a winery and get a tank and bottle it. So they can bring it together and make lots of good wine together. But also with the blending, that if someone's growing something on the northeast corner where it's a little bit cooler, a little bit more sheltered, compared to growing in the southwest where it's a little bit warmer, you can pick these grapes at different times and bring them and create almost a super wine.
We get very excited about blending in wine for those reasons. And if we think about some of the most famous and well-known wine regions in the world, that's exactly what they're doing. We've got a package of fruit here and a package of fruit over there, and this one's got a bit more acid and this one's got a bit more tannin, this more fruit, more sugar, whatever, and you bring it together, so you build actually a much bigger, clearer picture of what a place is trying to do. And if we look at Greece as a whole, 60-odd thousand hectares, 180,000 growers, 1,200 wineries. So there's a lot of, what this is telling you is there's a lot of cooperative production, but there's a lot of these growers have very, very small plots, and commercially doesn't stack up. So by having cooperatives that are caring and working with their growers, we're actually preserving this kind of this ancient history. I mean, 400 years is hardly ancient. I think that's roughly how old Alex is now. Is that right? I mean, he's looking at...
That's how much he's aged.
That's how much he's aged since inception. But, the olive tree, 400 years. One of the interesting things, I think, when we talk about Greece is how many people still seem astounded that there is such a thing as Greek wine, because we're steered by what we see that's commercially available, and Greek wine isn't the most commercially available. You won't see it filling the supermarkets, for example, as you might Argentina or Chile or France. This is almost where wine was invented, or certainly one of the first places, the culture of wine here. So it's all about preserving. It's not just preserving fruit with altitude, right? Preserving history through winemaking.
And I think there is two things in Greek wine, and I might just be of that generation and it's different around. But going to Greece and drinking Greek wine wasn't always the most pleasant experience. You know, and you know, Retsina is probably the thing that pops to mind, and that was. And I've told them what
there's no resin not to drink it.
No resin, not wow.
Thanks very much.
But if there is
Heroic.
no resin, there is a resin not to drink it.
Well, exactly.
But it's interesting. I was talking to a winemaker from Gaia, who we're not featuring tonight, but like them guys, and they've started making a Retsina again, but made with Roditas.
Mm-hmm.
So before it was, they had poor quality wine, and they put this resin in from Aleppo pines in to add some flavour to it, and it used to be almost like a syrup that they dump it in. Now what they do is they get these resin blocks and they put it in like a tea bag, so they can put it in, drop it, taste the wine, and use it to add character rather than to mask flavour.
Mm-hmm.
But I think a lot of people's experience is, Greek wine, it's that Retsina stuff that tastes like Christmas trees. I don't want it.
So it's discriminate use of the resin, not indiscriminate. But so there's the thing, right? If we do talk about Greek wine, and we see this an awful lot in wine, we talk about a specific place or region, and people have a very specific memory of it. As an example, Beaujolais, people think of Nouveau, which was really popular in the 70s and haven't got out of that. Well, is it doing something new? Greek wine is the first thing people think of is Retsina, and they don't necessarily have those positive memories. And also back then, when we started going to Greece on holiday in the sort of late 70s, early 80s, you know, what did Greece have? It had a lot of warmth, everything was hot, had a lot of oxidation, and didn't really have the winemaking controls techniques that post the 70s or since the 70s it's since developed. So it's certainly in recent history, it's kind of been, you know, not meeting the standards that we as consumers have come to expect.
Absolutely, and it's grapes that we've never heard of, so we don't know what that's meant to taste.
Does make it harder, doesn't it?
Chardonnay, we've got an idea if we like Chardonnay, don't like Chardonnay, but Assyrtiko, Iutico...
What should Savatiano taste like? I have no idea.
Is this a good example of it? And if you get one that's not great, you then go, I don't like that.
It's a similar...
But let's have a look at what this tastes like from the people. So, you know, it's what we expect being an island wine. We've got that saline, you've got lemon, you've got a lot of that herbaceous stuff, and you'll see this through a lot of Greek wines because there's a lot of herbs growing there. And, you know, people go, why does it taste like herbs? I'm like, because the sap from these herbs go up in the air and they end up on the grapes. Why is it saline? Because it's by the ocean.
Surrounded by the ocean.
No one takes the grapes off and goes in and gives them a quick bath before they go into the press.
Are you telling me that's where I've got my winemaking wrong? I shouldn't have been doing that.
Bathing your grapes.
Yeah.
What have you been bathing them?
I had some advice that...
A bit of baby sham?
Yeah. I thought that would add a bit of character and personality.
But it does. There's a lot of what I like, you know, these savoury notes in there. There's this wine for me. We tasted it before and then kind of went through and go, there wasn't masses and masses of fruit, and almost at the beginning it was like, what's going on here? But then the texture and the non-fruit things really kind of come through.
Those lovely savoury edges, that almost that phenolic thing. So that, as Jamie said, use the word texture. It kind of coats your palate. You don't just taste this wine; you actually feel it. It has a physical presence in the mouth, and as your palate adapts to that and you adjust to it, you start to be able to use that to kind of unpick the flavour that is in there, and it is delicate and it's got that lovely kind of thymy jasmine kind of thing running through it, but it's still bright and fresh.
Absolutely, but you know, it's a grape that you find on Kefalonia. I'm not sure it's not commercially grown anywhere else that I'm aware of. There's pockets here and there, but
pockets throughout Greece, but nowhere else that we're aware of it.
This is the place. If you're talking about Ribolla, Kefalonia is the place.
And it has a very there's a specific PDO. So there's another couple of PDOs which are, you know, the grape of Kefalonia. Ribolla is sort of arguably the most important, whether that's commercially, stylistically, historically, so on and so forth. So it's unique to here. It's believed to be related to that very well-known grape Hostoledi, which I assume you've all done the required reading ahead of this evening's broadcast, so I won't need to explain that to you. But again, another thing about everything about Greece, every way you look at Greece or you try and carve it up, it's interesting. Like climactically, it's interesting. It's surrounded by the ocean. You can't just go, Greece is this, it's this and this and this and this. Different grapes you've not heard of. And grapes that haven't really commercially, there's a little bit of Assyrtiko has kind of crept out of Greece and has been growing in other places. But most of these grapes, a little bit in Australia, yeah. But most of these grapes have stayed here.
That's how a lot of grapes end up there. They've all started somewhere else.
Yes.
And then they've crept, you know, you take Malbec in Argentina. You go, Malbec is Argentinian, but it's I mean, it absolutely is.
Thank
but,
you.
But these are the kind of things that you're going to start, pop around. You go down California, they're growing a little bit of everything. There's Grüner Veltliner there, there's Tempranillo there, there's all that kind of good stuff. But I think the important thing is, while we've got these little holiday vibes and very much the holiday vibe trip, what if we're on Kefalonia? I always get confused with are you in or on when you go to an island? But you're on Kefalonia. What are you eating if you're having a glass of this?
I seafood, like octopus. That's where I was going.
Nice, fresh.
Yeah, fresh grilled seafood.
See you later.
Bit of lemon on there. Actually, just really lightly done chicken. Just slightly, herb coated chicken with I was going to say Greek salad, but unintentionally, nice light salad to it.
The old what they call the Greek salad in Greece.
Well, exactly. This salad, isn't it? So kind of like fresh foods, but you can go meat, you can go fish. This is actually very versatile.
Bit of roast chicken for Kathy.
Yeah, roast chicken. Exactly what I was thinking. Get some herb crust on there. There's a brand of crisps, and they do like a herb crusted chicken flavour. Yeah, if you don't want to make a roast, just buy those with this. That should work.
We've gone to wine too. We had one of these.
Hostility. I had it once, but it cleared up. Thanks very much for asking. So a tannic white. So it'd be interesting, Kevin. Is that was it clearly a white, or was it a white made in a more orange style with a bit of skin contact, or was it a bit of skin contact made as a white or an orange? That's really interesting. Not a grape I'm familiar with, but that's the beauty. The more I read about Greece, I don't know what this is. And as someone who's been in wine for so long and loves wine, the idea of constantly exploring and discovering new things is incredibly exciting. And that's what Greece has to offer, for sure. It was a clear white, Kevin has said in the other comment. Well, we need to find some of that. Kevin, if you could take care of that, find a couple of bottles, send them over. Really appreciate it. Thank you.
Fill out the tasting notes.
Yeah, you carry on.
So I'm going to move the tasting notes on to wine number 2, and we are going over to Ruvelas, and this is a Lagorthi, which is a wine, a grape I had never, ever heard of until I went to the Wines of Greece tasting a couple of months ago, and I absolutely fell in love with it. I thought this is absolutely delightful, delicious, lots of fun, and beautiful. Oh yeah, and happy English Wine Week. We've got our calendar all wrong, haven't we?
Well, it's Greek Wine Month, isn't it? Is that Greek Wine Month, English Wine Week?
Wine for everything. So I'm just going to trail back a little bit here. Well, we've got the Mr. WSET here because we love him dearly. You mentioned a PDO earlier, and Greek is split between PDIs and PDOs, yes?
It is, yes.
And what is a PDI, a PDO? What's the difference, and what does it mean generally for quality of the wines?
That's a really good question. So PGI is a protected geographic. I've forgotten the word. What's the I stand for? Indicator. That's it. There we go. Can I do this? PGI is
it complaints at WSET?
I think that's it. A PDO is a protected designation of origin, and both of these give you a set of rules and legislation about where the wines can come from, but also which wines have the highest or perceived highest quality levels. So all of these are designations that tell you what grape can I grow where, how can I grow it, how do I have to make it. There'll be certain rules around trellising systems and alcohol levels and so on and so forth. And Greece is split fairly equally between these, sort of about 50-60% of Greek wine production falls into one of these two categories, there or thereabouts.
Okay, fantastic. So we say we're on the mainland, depending who you are in the Peloponnese. Are you on the mainland or not on the mainland? What I'll do is I'll just pull up, he says, a little map here, just so we can kind of see where we're at Greece. And obviously you've got a big map in your tasting booklet here. But if you look at Greece, the thing, the top of the pinky red bit is where we're hanging out now in the north of the Peloponnese. And yeah, this is a wine that I think is it's beautiful, it's delicious, it's soft, it's easy drinking. I'm really excited to kind of see what everybody's tasting notes are on this, because this is it's almost a wine like no other. You know, when you get a different wine and people go, what's this kind of like? And I'm like, it's kind of like it is. But this is another one. I think it's quite herbal, it's quite rich. It's very soft on the palate, but then it's got this lovely acidity at the end. But rather than us describing it, we could probably go, it's the winery.
Is there a video? Let's roll a video.
He says.
Everyone, my name is Theodora Rouvalis. I am a second generation winemaker of Rouvalis Winery from Greece. We are in Peloponnese, in the northern part of Peloponnese, at the region called Slopes of Aegialia. It's the most mountain viticultural zone in Greece and one of the most mountain in Europe. All vineyards are planted from between 800 meters to 1,100 meters above sea level. Balconies with view to the Corinthian Gulf. So north exposition and high altitude, that means cool climate wines, even in Greece. Imagine that each 100 meters we go up to the mountain, the temperature goes down 0.7 degrees Celsius degrees. So at 1,000 meters we have, for example, 7 degrees difference with the sea level, where we plant Riesling, for example, which loves cool climates. And also we have a very big difference of temperature between day and night, almost 15 degrees. So we produce more fresh, fruity wines with low alcohol and natural acidities. All it started in 1990 when my father, Angelos Rouvalis, established the winery. A pioneer of his time, he succeeds in orchestrating the development of the viticultural zone of Aegialia, participating in the rebirth of quality Greek wine. Today, Antonio Ruiz, my husband, and I, we run the winery. Both of us, we are enologists with international experience from Burgundy, Bordeaux, Alsace, New Zealand, Chile, which we try to combine with tradition and modern technology to make the most of the exciting Aegialian terroir. Our winery is a gravity flow winery built on a slope in 6 different levels. So all production is done by gravity flow, and we are the first winery in Greece member of Servim, the international organization for the mountain heroic viticulture.
So yeah, I just think this is a cool wine. You know, it's gravity fed. It's part on the lees, part not on the lees, part in oak, part in stainless steel, part in amphora. It does all the things.
It's almost as if, so she said there, heroic viticulture. You look at a lot of these sites and the altitude and the slope, and you go, wow, this is going to be so much work just to grow the fruit. And then you grow the fruit and you get it to the winery. It's almost going, how can I make this as complicated and difficult as possible? I'll just do one thing. No, do loads. And that shows such a level of care towards what you're producing in order to communicate the very best things from the grape variety and the place and where you are. And what I find particularly impressive about this wine is it's so light and fresh. It's only 11% alcohol, but it does have flavour. So the flavour is maybe more herbal, more savoury, but there's plenty of flavour here. You're not searching for it. And as we change our drinking habits and consumers look to consume less alcohol, and we don't want wines that are 14.5%, 15%, 16% anymore. We want lighter wines, but that still deliver lots of character. You kind of look at these grape varieties growing in Greece, particularly this one, Lagorthi, which is definitely undiscovered in the UK. You kind of go, here's the alternative. This is where we could go. What can we learn? These grapes have been growing in this place for centuries. What can we learn from them? And is there benefit to taking these grape varieties elsewhere as we all try and become more environmental and we think more about the level of alcohol that we're consuming? This is fascinating stuff.
I think so. And it's being a naturally lighter alcohol.
Yes.
And there are some phenomenal non-alcoholics out there doing really well. We're seeing a big rise in this kind of mid-tier, this 6-7% alcohol. And they're well and good if that's what you want, but they are being manipulated.
Yes, artificially
edited at the end to create a product. And that's absolutely fine. But you look at these 11% from here, some of the Semillons from Hunter Valley can be 10, 11%. There's some really
packing some character.
Without having to go, I'm looking for a low alcohol wine. And it is. I think this is the balance between a low alcoholic wine and a lower alcohol. And it's completely up to what people like to drink. But we're starting to see people are trying to come back from 14.5%, 50% Chardonnays to 12.5% Chardonnays. It's tough. It's all getting a bit warmer. It's all getting a bit tougher. It's this
climate change is having an effect, making it more difficult. What do you think about
Finn's point? This being a slightly natural wine style, and it's natural wine. It's a bit of a catch-all phrase at the moment.
I
But
was.
is it where we're sticking in amphora, we're not
Mhm.
fining, we're not filtering? But there's lots of wines that are unfined and unfiltered that
Mhm.
are as natural gets, but they're not getting natural wine slapped on the label. So I don't want to go down a rabbit hole because we're doing a Greek wine tasting and not a natural wine tasting, but just note
Do
from
we
yours
do
where-
we almost need?
because Alex went to a natural wine tasting a couple of months ago, and there were thousands of people lined up to taste natural
Yep,
wines.
yep.
And 2 years ago, I would have said, and I'm going to get shot and cancelled here, if you like a bottle of natural wine, don't buy another one because it won't be the same.
Well, I think that's a very valid point. So, firstly, we need to think about this definition of what natural is. And I spent the weekend at a consumer event speaking for a particular winery, and it was this idea of, well, what is natural? And you go, well, in terms of style, when you taste a natural wine, it could be here, it could be over there. Same with orange. When we describe orange wine, there's such a variety of styles within that it makes it difficult to know what to expect. But this idea of natural, if it is lower intervention, this idea of, well, how would have wine been made originally with less intervention because they didn't have the skills, the technology, the understanding, whatever, or combination of those things, that natural wine perhaps means less interference, for want of a better word, or less manipulation. So in that sense, could we consider it natural? The idea of using amphora, that was existed before stainless steel.
Yeah, that was one of
Before
the
barrels.
original
Was
ways.
one of the first ways
back
of
to Armenia,
Yeah, yeah.
6,000 years ago. That's what we're doing.
keeping it and storing
Winemaker
it.
once said to me, "If you make a truly natural wine, it's bird food."
Can I do the old nature doesn't make wine, it makes vinegar? No, that's on him. But I was at the Real Wine Fair for 2 days, again talking for a winery packed with people, and the variety of wine was incredible.
But yeah, so have we got a badger in there? Is that a badger or is that a skunk?
I nearly went squirrel. What would be a cross between a squirrel and a badger? I guess a skunk, right?
Skunk sounds right.
Probably that.
But we've got the herbs again, but we've got more fruit in this than the last one.
Mhm.
A little bit of peach, a little bit of pear.
Someone's got floor in there, so it's like some contact with the yeast,
We've
some
got that
leaves
pininess,
kind
that
of character. Yeah.
But that's what they do. They sit slowly. They
Mhm.
use all the different techniques, which brings all these different layers of flavors out. And you can just, and there's some things here, bitter marmalade.
Mhm.
Well, sorry, the bitter one here. Some of these
Almond thing.
are interestingly that you wouldn't always associate with being a positive tasting note.
Mhm.
But when you bring it all together, there's a reason for it. We sometimes have these weird things in wine. It's got this bit of graphite and pencil shavings and old tobacco. I'm like, how is any of that like?
A bit of barnyard.
Yeah, if someone said, "Oh, here's your dinner, sir. This is what it tastes like," but with wine, it seems to manage to do this. What have we got here? We've got another little question here. So, amphora versus steel. So your steel, you become very kind of contained. It preserves the fruit, and basically, what you put into steel is what you get out of steel. It just holds onto it for a little while. Amphora, because you're this clay vessel, depending what you do with it, whether you have it, up on the ground or buried, you've got clay, so you're a little bit more porous, so you're letting oxygen in. Sometimes these amphoras will be left open, so loads of air can get into them, and you'll get, whatever yeast and stuff is hanging around the vineyard or the cellar will get in there and give it its own unique, distinct flavour. So stainless steel, you put your wine in there, it's bright, it's fresh, and it protects it from anything outside. So it's all about grape, and that's it. Amphora is much more about taking the whole vineyard environment into the wines
and capturing it in there. No,
so you use the word terroir, and something like that is where you would go. Amphora is very much a terroir driven wine technique.
Yeah,
cool. But yeah, some great tasting notes.
I think that's fascinating.
As we go on to wine 3, I'm going to tell you I made a horrible mistake, a mini mistake. Your wines say put 1, 2, and 3 in the fridge. Anyone who read ahead will realise that wine 4 is also, it's not a white wine, but it's a rosé. So while we talk through the next one, you might want to chuck it back in the fridge. But it's quite a robust rosé, so it doesn't need. You don't want it ice cold. There's no need for it to be ice cold. That's no good for anybody. But before we do that, we'll move on to wine 3. I'll pour some for Lee.
Fabulous.
Oh, we didn't talk about what we're eating with this. What are we eating with?
With the Lagorthi. You don't want food that's too powerful because it is light and it has that aromatic to it, but it's not got a strong, pungent sense of flavour. I would have very light. I think just a nice light salad, or a little bit of white fish. Simple white fish.
Yeah, some simple scallops would be nice. A
Oh,
little bit of weightiness on
yeah.
them, but no.
Wrapped in
nothing
pancetta?
solid. I think that might all be
A bit too much.
That saltiness,
Yeah.
but once again,
I do like salt. I could double down on the salt, but that would be over and above my daily recommended allowance.
You can eat what you like, drink what you like, and if it's good food and it's good wine, it is quite difficult to go very, very wrong, isn't it?
I don't know. You've obviously not experienced my cooking.
Well,
but in theory, no, I don't. In theory, that's good. So onto this Malaguzia, which I think is absolutely fascinating, and we're relocating in Greece to a PGI, Florina.
Which we're right up in the north, aren't we?
We are northern part of Western Macedonia. Yeah. And this is actually one of the coolest
in the green bits towards the top of the map.
This is one of the coolest and most mountainous areas in the whole of Greece. Actually, vineyards here can reach up to sort of like 700 and slightly above meters above sea level. So you've got snow in winter. You've got a body of lakes around here, which affect. But again, in Greece, you don't have snow. What? I'm in Greece, surely not. In winter, this is so high up and far north for Greece and mountainous that we can see that. So, cold winters, nice warm summers, really interesting conditions for growing grapes in this part of the world. And we've got this Malaguzia.
Absolutely. So, Alpha State, we've got a couple of wines from these guys today, and they started in 1997, which is interesting in the world of Greece because they started with the new tech. They didn't start with amphora and overheating and all that kind of stuff. They started being able to make top quality wine, top quality winery, and I really think these are one of the wineries in Greece that if you want to go, I want to know what this wine tastes like. Bang, bang. They are textbook examples for all the blind tasting of Greek wine people do.
Yeah. Oh, there's loads of it. It's rife.
And what they also do, which is quite smart, they're very, very big into their indigenous grapes, but they also have a little play with the international stuff that enables Greek wine to become more accessible. So this is 100% Malaguzia, but they do a Malaguzia Sauvignon blend. So you might see the word Sauvignon on the label, go, well, I know that one. I'll give that a go. And then when we get later on, we're going to do a Zinno Mavro Syrah blend. So Zinno Mavro all by itself might go, well, I don't really know.
Yeah.
But if you've got Syrah chucked on there, you go, well, if they're going to put some Syrah in there, it's got to be Syrah-y. There's got to be something in there. So it's probably going to be a bit fruity. It's probably going to be a bit spicy. And I might give that a go. And I think that's really important.
I think if we look at this, as we make comparisons between Greece and Italy, and historically these two countries are so closely intertwined, and there's been cultural crossovers for centuries. If we think about Sicily, I remember when Sicily first broke into the UK, there was a company called Cusimano. And what they were doing were working with the native varieties of Greece, but blending internationally. And that suddenly made these wines much more accessible and open to the consumers. Because when we buy wine is a risky choice. Most of us don't know very much about wine. We want things that we can cling on to and go, I know what that is. So there's familiarity, there's safety, there's comfort. And through that, you can explore further and further. And maybe that's one of the ways to kind of start exploring Greece, is having points of familiarity and then slowly exploring out more and more to understand these varieties and the differences they make.
Oh, I can completely agree. But yeah, it's...
it's a bit aromatic.
There's loads of aromatic.
I'm sold. This is like totally my jam.
But these are completely family owned, no cooperative. They don't buy any grapes from anybody else, so they have full control from minute one to
from field to fork. Although you wouldn't, from grape to glass. That's the way of putting it, isn't it? That works. Yes. That makes more sense considering it's wine.
Grape to glass. They have full
control. That's it. That's it.
But here's a note. This is
very floral, aromatic, herbal. Yeah. Oh, Thai green prawn curry with jasmine rice specifically.
This was another one we had a bit of a discussion about at the beginning, because it's almost got this muscaty kind of thing going on, and without some careful work in the winemaking in this, it could run away quite easily and become overly floral, overly popular.
Like a blousy Gewurz.
See, I can't see it in the bottom corner, but just look how many tasting notes are in here. Just look how
pineapple, jasmine,
tropical, floral, pineapple, sweet. It's interesting. There's a couple of wines that we'll taste through that some of these wines have these kind of, the fruits are kind of candied.
Yep.
But then when you taste it, it's not.
They're not that sweet or confected.
Sometimes
right?
you get that, some of the bulk wines you buy off the bottom shelf at the supermarket. They go, that smells like strawberry Jolly Rancher and tastes like strawberry Jolly Rancher. And am I actually drinking wine? This has got this kind of candy confected nose, but then when you taste it, it's bright, it's fresh, it's balanced.
It almost potentially trips you up, but in the best possible way, because you have this, from the nose, you expect this wine might have some sweetness to it, but it's dry and it's fresh and clear. Reminds me of Gewurz, yeah.
That's no lie. Exactly what we said. They were like, if this went away with itself, it could be that overly done Gewürztraminer where that potpourri, and I said, it reminds when you go around your grandmother's house and it's got this potpourri on the middle of the coffee table and you can smell nothing but lavender and rosehip, that kind of stuff.
That pungency and intensity. But I like the fact that when you get into the palate of this, there's a linearity to it and there's a dryness to it, and it kind of it's easy for this nose to lose focus, but it becomes very focused on the palate. And as I said, I use that word linearity. It runs all the way through.
Yeah,
I think that's
food. Like anything you would drink an Alsatian wine with, you could do this.
Boom.
Absolutely, so
definitely.
Pinot Gris, Gewurz, Riesling, Malaguzia. Just put that on the tick box.
Yeah.
Surprisingly not, I can see where I don't know what the thought was here. Sugar level is actually very low on this. It's only 1.4 grams a litre, and this is the difference between a wine being fruity and these flavours that we associate with sweetness, and a wine actually being sweet. And I think this is one of the first things that I got beaten into me when I first got into wine. It's got, this wine's sweet. No, it's not. But it tastes of pineapple and honey. Yes, it tastes of pineapple and honey. Pineapple is sweet. Honey is sweet. This wine is not. Sweetness is a fact, and it's measurable. Perception is because when you eat a pineapple, you expect that to be sweet, and that's what it is. So there's just that link. So
your brain's tripping you up. So what your brain's doing is it's recognizing the fact that there's a taste or a smell of pineapple, and then your brain's going, but I know when I consume that, there's sugar, so there must be sugar here. And it's very difficult. It's Jamie said, beat into him. It was the same for me. When you start tasting and developing your palate and your tasting skills, it's worked really hard to say, do I think this has sugar in it, or does it taste like things that have sugar in them? And I think with this, especially when you think about that acidity, you realise that there isn't the sugar there, but it's giving you that impression. I think that's what's so wonderful about it, because you go in with an expectation.
At what level of WSET would you be getting a Malaguzia in a blind tasting? Would you get it at diploma?
Do you know, I don't
even getting into MW.
I don't think they'd even throw this into MW. They could, but it wouldn't be diploma.
You're safe. You're safe for now. But on that note, should we pop to the vineyard and see what the Malaguzia has got to say about itself? We'll be back in a couple of minutes.
Welcome to Alpha Estate, located in the viticultural zone of Amyndion in northwestern Greece, within the region of Western Macedonia. Here, the winemaking tradition dates back to the era of Alexander the Great. The unique identity of the wines produced in Alpha Estate, 220-hectare privately owned vineyards, is attributed to the significant altitude of the Amyndion Plateau, ranging from 550 meters to 720 meters. The presence of the two nearby lakes act as a climate regulator, providing cool summers and preventing frost in the winter, while the low fertility soils ensure excellent drainage. Malaguzia, one of the Greece's most popular grape varieties, is renowned for its aromatic profile, which spans from white blossom and citrus hints to white-fleshed fruits and a supple muscat-like character, varying from cooler to warmer region. It features large cluster with medium to large berries and a thin skin, ripening in the 3rd to 4th week of September, and it's noted for its crisp acidity. The Malaguzia Turtles is named after the specific vineyard plot at Alpha Estate where it is cultivated. Gastronomically, Malaguzia pairs beautifully with fresh vegetable salad that includes soft white cheeses, excels with seafood, especially shellfish, grilled prawns or langoustines, vegetable risotto, lightly crispy Asian cuisine, and al dente pasta with tomato and basil sauce. Llamas.
Langoustine and Asian cuisine. I mean, I am
this,
sold.
This also cries out for, you want something like that feta cheese. You can choose feta cheese, honey, almonds, that kind of thing would do really, really well.
Actually, a little bit of beetroot in there with that earthiness. I think would work well with it, particularly with the nose, with that really bright kind of fresh, sweet thing going on.
Absolutely. So if someone gets Malagousia and a blind tasting anytime soon, I'm going to send them your details, okay?
Yeah. I mean, if you get given that, that's one thing. If you identify it, I basically MW, right? That's
done.
that would be so. Do you know if I had that, there's an element of thinking aside because we. About that, we had a slight technical issue, and look, I'll cut to the chase. It was my shirt. This camera has put up with an awful lot. My shirt has broken it, so I apologise for that. But I was talking about the Malagousia and trying to find a frame of reference for it. And I think one of the ways that it's possible to do that is to think about Torontes from Argentina. And in fact, and this relates to the question about blind tasting as well. In Argentina, they refer to Torontes as the liar grape because you smell it and you have this idea that it's going to be sweet, and you taste it and it's dry because most Torontes are made that way. Malagousia is doing the same thing. So actually, if you think about what else this could be, Torontes isn't a silly suggestion. But we're not here to talk about Argentina. We're here to talk about Greece. And this grape variety, I think we've seen has potential and capability. So could you make this as a sweet wine? What would it do? You don't want to run the risk of it becoming too blousy. We sort of mentioned that really big, overblown Gewürztraminer style. You want to retain that acidity, and I think this is probably the perfect balance. The kind of sweet characters that are coming through from the nose, and that nice, delicate balance on the palate of dryness, more citric coming through. Some of the herbal thing, jasmine as well. Somebody's mentioned melon, I think, in the tasting notes, which is showing really well. Interestingly, this variety was almost extinct as recently as 1983. And I don't think it's a coincidence that that's my birth year. So I've been born. I love this style of wine. People have gone, oh, hang on, we better recover this great variety. So in some ways, you could say thanks to me, but I don't do it for the thanks. It's just what I do. That's what I'm here for. Anyway, I think this Malagousia is really interesting. I think if we look at the whites that we've tasted as well, we've seen some range and diversity just across 3 grapes. One of the challenges that you have when you try and put a tasting together of only 6 wines to encompass any concept, especially that of a country, is it's so incredibly challenging. How can we possibly talk about Greek wine in 6 wines? It's a big place, 220 odd islands, countless native, indigenous, that was a tautology, countless grape varieties to this place. Actually, over these 3 whites, we've seen some diversity and something quite interesting. So I think a great job.
But the most important thing is get more turtles on the label.
Get more turtles. Somebody did say that in the chat. I think I wholly endorse this message. More turtles on the label.
Exactly.
Definitely.
That's the way it should be all day and every day. Anyway, should we move on to some rosé after that?
Now this is an interesting one for me because normally rosé would pose a question mark to someone of my caliber and discriminating tastes. Of everybody watching, what are our feelings about rosé? Do we have any preconceptions about rosé? Because I might have the odd one.
So rosé, for me, it's changed a lot recently.
Gracias.
But rosé used to sit in two camps, didn't it? It was either dry with not much going on, but it was just very
Bit watery.
refreshing.
Yeah.
Or it was sweet and sticky, and that was the only chance you had. Yeah.
Yeah, that was
Would you
pretty
say
much.
that's
They're
fair?
kind of the two brackets, right? For rosé production, I would say. Of which, interestingly, with rosé, back when I started in this racket, by which I mean the wine industry, not working with the online wine tasting club, I sold rosé for like 6 weeks of the year. So I was in retail, the shop. A little bit. It's a sparkling rosé was a little bit different, but kind of still rosé, kind of seen as a summer drink. It wasn't really considered at any other times of year. Now it's an annual drink. People drink it for breakfast, breakfast.
Kathy's got a whole tasting menu going on. Look at this. Gone on from the herb chicken to the strawberries and ice
Oh,
cream.
Kathy, can we come to yours to eat after the show, or you come here, or maybe we meet at a midway point?
But I think, I turn around and go, people go, rosés for the summer and white wines for the summer and red wines for the winter. And I get, as people, in the good old days when people ate seasonally,
yes,
it kind of made sense.
Yes.
But in the summer, you sit somewhere with air conditioning and it's about 18 degrees.
Yep.
And in the winter, you put some heating on and it's about 18
degrees, yeah.
So you're the same temperature you're out, but it's that feeling, isn't it? That, I think people have this rosé, French Riviera, sit on a yacht, and you've got those rosé brands, that make you feel like you might sit on a yacht.
Should I say them really quietly?
No, you.
Okay.
No.
All right. Yeah.
You need to say it in about 60 seconds or really quietly. That's your two options.
Right. Okay.
But the thing is that I always turn around and go, those ones that make you look like you'd be on a yacht. The reason you're never going to be on a yacht is because you spent all your money on that rosé.
Yeah, the main reason I don't have a yacht, if I collected all of the money that I'd spent on wine, I still probably couldn't afford a yacht because they're really expensive. But there is this thing, particularly that rosé has captured now, is it's a lifestyle drink. More so, to me, wine is a lifestyle drink overall. That's why I'm in it. But rosé, particularly, there's a large group of drinkers out there. It's the lifestyle. It's the image that convey, and they put it on their face top and Instabook.
Rosé all day.
Exactly.
Hashtag pretty in pink.
He's very pretty in pink. He's pretty in any colour, I think. To be honest, it doesn't matter.
When the sunshine comes out for a few minutes.
Yeah.
But anyway, we are digressing. So we are. You know what? I'm going to digress completely, and I'm just going to go straight to the video.
Let's do it.
And this is the one you can't talk over.
Oh no, I'll be quiet for a change.
Hello, I'm George Zouloufakis, and I'm the fourth generation of this winery. We are located in the south part of Greece, in an island called Crete, and we are in the middle of the island, and the area is called Daphnes. My father, Nikos Zouloufakis, studied enology in Alba, in North Italy, and came back here to start producing quality wines in our island. Right now we own 25 hectares and we buy another 25 from viticulturists of the area that we supervise, and we approximately produce 400,000 bottles per year. The vineyards of Daphnes are located very close to the highest mountain in Crete, with an altitude of 2,456 meters. The area is formed by rolling hills at an altitude of 300 to 500 meters. The vineyards are planted on the slopes of these hills, and these elongated valleys that are formed by those hills brings the breeze from the Cretan Sea. The breeze helps maintain the temperature at the slopes and also extends the ripening season. Due to the microclimate here, Daphnes has a long history for cultivating vines and winemaking, and we also have historical documents from the Venetians during the Venetian occupation from 11th century to 15th century. The varieties we're going to taste today are Liatico and Vidiano. They are two local varieties, and we will start with Liatico. It's one of the most famous varieties in Crete. The oldest variety in Daphnes, and actually it's a PDO in our area. Everyone here cultivates Liatico, and actually the name of Liatico is becoming from the month July, and it in Greek is Ioulios. So Ioulios, Iouliatiko, Liatiko, and that's because Liatiko is maturing during July. Vidiano, it's a variety that was almost extinguished after the phylloxera. We found some vines, we planted new ones, we saw a lot of potential in this variety. And right now we make 4 different wines with this variety. Today we're going to taste Daphnios Rosé. Daphnios is from the name of the area, Daphnes, and it's from 2 varieties, Liatiko and Vidiano, as I said. We cut the grapes and we put them together inside the press, 80% of Liatiko and 20% of Vidiano, and after we co-vinificate them. The characteristics of this wine are dried jasmine, red berries, anise, and notes of apricot. It's very easily paired with Mediterranean cuisine, Cretan cuisine, Greek, and also Italian. This would be perfect with margherita pizza or for some spaghetti like arrabbiata. Cheers.
So yeah, I just think this is what rosé can be. You know, and there's some great things in the chat about it being made from different grapes and different bits and pieces. You know, rosé from Aglianico. You know, and I think what the big thing you got to is that realization of how rosé is made. That it's getting its flavor and its structure from the skins. If you've got a thick skin grape, you can get a really deep, flavorful rosé without having had loads of skin contact with it, without it having to be sweet. I think there's so much fun stuff that could be done with rosé, but it seems to sit so far down the pecking order in quality wines that you go, oh, an expensive bottle of red, a few £100. People go, oh, I get that. Expensive bottle of white Burgundy, a few £100. I get that. Bottle of rosé, £150.
Rosé has become probably the most commoditized aspect of wine as a whole. So you can argue what wine has become much more commoditized, but particularly rosé, because it is just that mindset of there's the lifestyle thing, but it's kind of glugging it. It's not living in the moment of that lifestyle. It's just being seen with it and drinking it, and it's is it taken seriously?
This has got lots of flavors. Yeah, that paradox, that strawberry boiled sweet, that kind of thing. And there are some sweet, but there's nothing sticky in there, is it? It's all kind of like fresh kind of fruits in there.
It's fascinating. You go from the nose, and as we explored this before we went live on both occasions, that it has that kind of boiled sweet. I think you used the term Jolly Ranchers. For me, it's like that strawberries and cream sweet, but really purely. It's not just like a big mess of random boiled sweets, ye olde sweetie shoppy. It's a really precise nose element there.
It's just not confected mess.
It's not confected mess. It's not all like boiled down and a sugary, syrupy, horrible thing. And you taste it, and this is dry and a little bit like the Malgousia that we had. Sweet indicates on the nose, but a dry palate. So this is fascinating.
A little bit, but we're in Crete here, so we're about as far south as you get now. We're on.
So we've really gone to the other end.
Greece's biggest island, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So compared to Kefalonia, where we're at it, tiny little island, how much is the island influence? Is it anywhere near as much on Crete? But when you're a little bit central, is it almost far enough away that it's more of a moderating the ocean rather than island influence, or is there still a lot of island influence?
I think it depends where you are in Crete. So Crete's sort of 150 miles long, but it has kind of a central mountain ridge. So I think when you're on the south of that, the mountain ridge is kind of is preventing the oceanic influence. So actually, it's potentially warming up a little bit. I think if you're on the north side of that mountain range, you're more exposed. So we think about that. I'm inverting it. In kind of a north-south way, we would think about Alsace and the impact of the Vosges Mountains creating a wine channel. Well, imagine that kind of made to be a north-south thing, and you've got the coast instead of the landmass of France. So I think if you're on the north side of Crete, you've got more oceanic influence. If you're on the sort of the southern side of that mountain chain, you will have much more of the obvious island influence. So it's interesting again that we're not just going Greece, we're going Crete. We're dividing Crete up. And I think here you feel the oceanic influence, but you've got some continentality.
And I think that's an important thing, that when we go to A, lesser known regions, and B, new world regions, there's just this blanket, it's Crete.
It's this.
Bang, it's
Yeah.
Australia. Bang. Whereas we're in Bergen, we go, oh, you've walked 4 yards the wrong way. This is obviously
clearly.
line. And I think that's what's amazing about, as we get into a new region, we generalize to make it understandable, but then you've got to dig deeper. And if you've got a massive mountain range and you're on the north side of it versus the south side, or you're on the east side and the rain comes into the west and you're in the rain shadow, you're in a vastly different...
How does a slope benefit if I'm in a warm climate or a cool climate? The benefits are completely different depending where you are.
And therefore, what can I grow? What style can I make? Am I making, rosé? Would these grapes be all right to hang out for long enough to make a red? Or is it designed purely for rosé? And depending where you are, even on that same ridge, it might be different. And I think that's what's really exciting about wine. There's no exact answer. Everyone wants to be very precise, but there's no exact answers. If a winemaker's favourite answer is depends.
It's wine is ultimately a combination of art and science. So for anybody who keep mentioning WSET, whenever you're talking about a wine, always go back to what's happening in the specific environment, not like the whole area, because regions are big, right? What's happening in a specific place this came from, and what's the human influence? So what's the human doing? So well, the climate could be doing this, but the human could do this to affect it. So you always think of it as an equation. Wine is an equation. Ultimately, the answer to the equation is what's right here. The factors in the equation are environmental influence, human influence, and some other factors as well. But as you've said, Jamie, like what makes Greece so exciting is the fact that none of us really know it. It's so new to us all. And what we can do is we can take knowledge that we've learned in other places. Well, I know what altitude does because I've studied Argentina. I know what being by the coast does because I've learned about Galicia in Spain. Yeah, but what's happening here? Because this is different. We're further south, we're close to the equator. How are these factors coming into play? I'm not a rosé guy. We've established that's really interesting.
But what I love as well, we're doing Greece today. And I think when we talk about Greece, the one place people go, I know Santorini. And I love Santorini. I think that's a great one, but not a Santorini to be seen in.
No, there's no Acertico tonight.
It just showcases the breadth that's available. You go, oh, God, do I need? And I was at the thing. I'm like, do I need to get an Acertico in here to be a Greek taste? I'm like, I absolutely don't. There's so many cool things to explore, and what I hope with this is it gives a little bit of a taste to go, yes, buy 28 pallets of each wine. Of course, that's what you need.
That's what you should be doing.
But outside of that you want to go, I want to go and explore a little bit more, and it opens up, and you can go down to your independent wine merchant and turn around and go, I had this fantastic tasting with Lee. Leave my name out of it. But fantastic tasting with Lee, and I tried this and this. I like that. What would be the next thing for me to try on my Greek exploration? And I say, and I do myself out of business here. As much as I'd love you to buy all your wine from me, find a local indie who you can go down and say, I've tried these things with the online wine tasting club. I like that. I wasn't a fan of this. This was all right. What's the next step on my wine journey? Don't be afraid to say I want to spend £12, £15, £20, £25, because that's always the elephant in the room when people are buying a bottle of wine. So go, I like this, I don't like this, I've tried that. And you find a guy behind the counter, and people in indies, that is their favourite thing to do. And when I had my own little shop, my favourite thing in the world was someone came in and they've been in a few times and go, Jamie, you know what I like? I want 4 reds, a couple of whites, and I want to spend this amount of money. And that made my day. Then they come in the next time and go, that was great, that was this was this, I want more like that. And that's how you're going to get great wine, by supporting your local indies. You've not got someone in the supermarket aisle. Maybe there's a big range there, but you've not got someone that stood there in front of that wall of wine to lead you to the next great glass. So support your indies. #
think indie, # drink indie. You have been told. And the other thing, if you're like me, like the prospect of interacting with another human being in real life is kind of abhorrent. If you have to interact with a human being, the kind of human being you interact with in a wine shop, an indie wine shop particularly, is the best kind of human being. Because none of us get into this racket for the hours or the money. We do it because we love the product and we love sharing what we've learned and helping other people kind of discover maybe hidden gems or new things to try. exactly what Jamie's just said, but I'm just saying it again.
Ian, completely agree. I like the idea. I've not done Greece since I was a kid. I like the idea of going out and then just getting a little boat and going from island to island, finding a winery, having a bottle of wine, making a note, go to the next island. I think that would be a genius.
Have you been in my dreams?
That's
Like
got-
observing
that's got-
them. That's
got nothing
no.
to
There's
do with
some
Greek
very
wine.
strange places that we
But
could go with that.
and I think that's the thing, and you look at it, 220 odd islands, but you're always going to discover something fun, something new, and
You could arguably, well, we don't need to argue it. You could drink a different bottle of Greek wine every night for the rest of your life and not experience the same thing twice. And as most of us wine lovers, we're in this for experiences. I'm not going to speak for anybody viewing or for anybody else, but we tend to have a similar outlook. If you want experiences and you don't want to replicate stuff, Greece is the place to go, right? Because what you can do is you can identify something like full-bodied reds or lighter, more aromatic whites. You can seek them out, but you can still have a different experience every single time. One of the many reasons Greece is so exciting.
If you pick up a glass of wine and you don't like it,
Give it
guess
to me.
what? Get
No.
another one. And no one's going to be offended, okay? No one's going to be offended if you pick up the glass and go, hey, that's not for me. If you turn around and go, well, it's too tannic, or it's not fruity enough, or it's not this, and you go to little places that are built on, like you go to commercial places less so. But what I've found in a lot of places that you go and go, this isn't really for me. I'd like something that's a bit bolder. They'll go see my mate 3 doors down. He's got just the wine for you, and that's what's exciting. That's what's really exciting. But I've jumped the gun. We're on to wine number 5. We're back to Alpha Estate. So we're back where we were previously.
We were there with them earlier.
Yeah. We could have a different winery every night forever, but we've gone back to the same one. So there we go. So do as I say, not do as I do. Yeah.
Look. There are also commercial aspects to all of this, and we sort of touched on it earlier, which is this is going to provide a narrative. It's going to look really clever, but we've not planned it at all. We were talking about, a lot of these producers, very, very small growers, there's cooperative production. The commercial realities are that most of Greek wine production is concentrated in small producers, and they don't always make it out to Greece, or they don't always make it to the UK. And that means that what's available to us isn't always the most accurate snapshot of what's there. And it does sometimes mean, well, we're going to go back to this producer for many valid reasons. But ultimately, the main message here is if you drink more Greek wine, there's more demand for Greek wine, which means we can bring more Greek wines into the UK, and then we can talk about more Greek wine. So this is on you. If you have an issue that we're coming back to the same producer, it's on you. You're not drinking enough Greek wine. I think we've addressed this.
Yeah. So
it's your fault.
Drink indie, buy Greek wine.
Yeah.
If we're going to learn.
Could I make that any clearer?
I don't know.
Greek wine, Greek wine.
Hashtag.
There you go.
So we talked about this a little bit earlier, where we go, they're really good at indigenous varieties, but also bringing the international varieties to make it more accessible.
Yeah.
So this is a 50-50 blend of the Zinamaro grape and Syrah, and this is their Axia. I could talk lots about it, but
Have you got a video?
I've done really well.
We love a video. It's like being back at school and the teacher brought the TV out with video. Great.
Exactly. So let's
rock and roll.
The video and continue a little bit more Alpha Estate.
Great to be here again. Hi, I'm Angelos Iatridis, winemaker of Alpha Estate. The combination of traditional viticulturists of the region and their adaptation to the modern concept of the circular economy and minimizing the carbon footprint of our winemaking procedure are key elements of our winemaking philosophy. All our wines are vegan certified. The PDO Amyndion is the largest and the most important cultivation zone for the Xenomavro variety. The great advantage of the region is the cool climate, which extends the ripening cycle of the vines and results in wines with the rich aromatic intensity of red small berry fruits, exceptional finesse, at the same time mature, round and balanced structure. This particular wine, Axia, which is in English means worthy, value, is a blend of the Xenomavro variety with the Cosmopolitan Syrah variety. The creation of this blend is significant because it combines two varieties, one offering finesse and a long aftertaste with a complex aromatic character, and the other providing the essential structure of the wine. This creates a new entity that represents the winemaker's unique approach within the distinctive ecosystem of Amindion. The gastronomic pairing of Axia wine is excellent with red meats on the barbecue or grill, oven-baked veal with potatoes, lamb, and goat either baked in the oven or grilled over coals. This pairing traditionally offers a culinary experience.
So yeah, that's everything you need to know. Good night. Thank you.
Done. Cheers.
Yeah, cheers. Lovely.
Yeah.
But no, there was a comment in there. My joys of typing. I missed an R off Allier, which is a forest in France, which is renowned for growing some of the best oak on the planet. So you've got Allier, you've got Limousine,
Tronchet,
probably
yeah, various others.
the big names.
I think next week we'll do an episode just about oak
Forests
and forests and barrels. I tasted with
might
people
not be
who
able
could
to see
identify the
might not
forest,
be able to
but
see the wood for the trees.
you know, you might not. But and if an oak barrel falls over in the winery and there's nobody there, is it filled with wine?
I hope not.
No, because it would probably. Yeah, we don't want that.
Exactly.
We don't want that.
So, what do we get? Someone's put something about
A couple of really interesting comments here about comparing Zinamavro with Nebbiolo. So Zinamavro, the name of it is derived from the Greek for acid and black. So actually, if we're relating that to Italy, we might immediately think of Negro Amaro, which is derived from the same words in Italian. But if we think about Zinamavro, and you know, I've been fortunate to try other Zinamavros, blended and monovarietal, very structural wines, so acid, tannin, herbal character. So that relation to Nebbiolo and other Italian grape varieties makes sense. And again, historically, if we go all the way back in time, the Greeks came to Italy, Italians went to Greece, and they kind of shared each other's cultures, appropriated them in some ways. And part of this involved their knowledge of grapes and grape growing and winemaking, and the structural kind of approaches to making wine was certainly shared between the two countries. So I think there's lots of good conversations to be had about what do the Greeks do with their wines, and what do their grape varieties do, and what do the Italians do. So there's a lot of sense in that.
But you look at that blend, you go, you know, we've got Greca de Tufo.
Yeah.
So, you know, you've got that.
Greco.
Aglianico de Veltur was.
Yeah, and Lianico is Hellenic.
Yeah,
isn't it?
so
It's
you've had that,
bastardization
and
of
then
that.
it's kind of moved further on. It's gone
Yeah,
through.
yeah.
So there's so much overlap in the wine world.
Mm-hmm.
But I've always been, if it looks like a Pinot Noir, smells like a Pinot Noir, but then tastes like a massive tannin thing, it's either Nebbiolo or Zinamavro.
Yes.
So,
yeah.
Yes.
They'd be the two places you'd go, most definitely.
And I think you go. It's a Greek tasting, I should say. You go Nebbiolo because if you're in a exam,
If you're in a diploma exam,
Nebbiolo is what I've been trained to know.
Yeah.
Whereas Zinamaro is more of a luxury. Oh, that's fun to drink.
Yes.
You don't think something. It's not on that list of.
What you would get in, and this has sort of come up a couple of times tonight. What you would get if it was a WSET blind tasting exam, level 3 diploma, you're going to get typical stuff because they're not looking to trip you up. MW, we talked earlier about Malagozia, maybe not. I could see as in a Mavro making it into an MW exam, possibly because it's slightly more well known and becoming more commercial.
So pop it onto the chat, a yes or no, a thumbs up or whatever. When we go, we've talked a lot about WSET, and I know we've got some people doing diplomas, we've got some people living the dream out there, some people with their diplomas. But if people would like us to go with Mr. WSET, that's what I'm going to call you from now on.
Yeah, but I do a very specific. Never mind.
Yeah, okay.
WSE Lee, they're just going to rebrand.
Lee.
Yeah, they're going to rebrand and we'll relaunch.
So giving up at the cheese factory, so you're no longer Dairy Lee.
No, I'm not Dairy Lee. No, and you know the little badge, and it's got Ariadne on it. Hold it. It's going to be me. It's going to be my profile on the badge.
But anyway, if anyone is excited by WSET and would like us with wine number 6 to go through a WSET SAT guided tasting, we can put the notes up and we can work through when we talk about these clusters and this balance and all these kind of things. If you'd like us to do that, just put a yes in the chat now so we know to do it. If you don't want to do it, put a no, because if you all know it already, we don't want to bore you till the cows come.
No, we certainly don't. And also, I'm not actually at work at the moment, so you know, I do this for fun. Of course, I do. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's not fun for you watching, but I'm having a great night out, so I don't really care. It's obviously this is blended with Syrah. So we need to take into account that we're not getting the truest expression of Zinamavro, but that's not the point of the wine. How many of you here watching this have had pure Zinamavro, and how do you think this compares with the addition of Syrah? Do you like what it's done? Do you think that less Syrah, more Syrah? What are your thoughts? Oh, tasting notes like this: leather,
So
vanilla.
I think it brings more drinkability to the wine. Zinamavro can sometimes be quite acidic, quite fresh, quite catch in the back of the mouth, and is a really good food wine. Fantastic food wine. Zinamavro drinking by itself can sometimes be challenging.
Yes.
And I think the Syrah coming into this at the end adds that little bit of weightiness, that little bit of fruit, that little bit of juiciness to make it go, delightful.
Yeah. We've had here sort of blueberry, bramble, those things very typically you would think of as coming from the Syrah blueberry as well. And that kind of more leather spice, tobacco, that savoury element, muscly. Again, I think that's the Zinamavro. But as you've said, acid and tannin are harsh on the palate, and we don't really consume other things that have this amount of alcohol, acid, and tannin in one go. So immediately it's challenging to the palate. So dropping Syrah in, I think, kind of just fills it out a little bit and brings that drinkability.
The things we have in wine is just in the wine. We'll add vinegar to fish and chips. We don't just, unless you're on some apple cider thing, whatever. But generally, you're not doing shots of vinegar. When you have a cup of tea, you don't squeeze the tea bag out in your mouth for tannins. Do you not?
Is that not done? Isn't that how you're supposed to do it?
No, you're meant to put it in the cup, microwave it with the milk in there, stir it out.
Who puts milk in tea?
Oh, but anyway, we're digressing once again. But there seems to be a couple of ideas for that. But I think the Alpha Estate is just, if you want to taste some Greek wines and try some different things, they're a safe bet.
Yeah.
And I'm not knocking any other Greek wineries, but it's kind of safe. They're generally good value for money for what you're getting coming across. And if you're not sure about a grape, grab theirs, because then you'll know what that grape should taste like. Yeah. Do you think that's a fair thing to say?
I think that's a very fair thing to say. So, one of the things we like about wine, one of our comfort blankets, is knowing what the grape variety is and what it's supposed to taste like. And that's the whole point, right?
Me and Kathy agree. Look at that.
Pure Zinamavro looks and tastes different from this blend.
See,
look at that.
Kathy's did it in one line. I did it in 4 minutes.
Yeah, brilliant. So Kathy, super. Can you pop over and just do the last wine? That'd be do with.
To be fair, I'll be gone. Alex will be gone. You and Kathy can run the show.
Kathy, come home. We're always looking for a song. There's definitely a song there, for sure. Kathy, let's do it.
Right. So
yeah.
But I think the vanilla, the blackberry, the blackcurrant is very much that addition of the Syrah that brings it all together. Right. Should we get the tasting notes moved on? We get wine number 6 in the glass, because this is a Mavrodaphne. So it's a bit of a interesting grape. It's a little bit different, and it just showcases that we should be able to do a WSET and work out the quality of this wine and where it sits in the world without actually having to know huge amounts about it.
Yes.
So what I think we're going to do is we're going to go to the video first. So this is Ruveles again. So we've already been there. We're going to pop back to that video. I'll move the tasting notes on so you can put your tasting notes in, and then we'll come back and we'll WSET it up. Is that the technical term? And go from there. So while you're tasting, chuck your tasting notes in. If you've got any food pairings in the, put them in the chat. And then we also need a decision, because Lee's here. What do you want first? Do you want the song, or do you want the end of show quiz?
Oh, that's a good question.
Let's taste Tsigelo Single Vineyard 2020. Tsigelo is the local name for the grape variety of Mavrodaphne, which was once best known for the sweet port-style wines. Recent years have seen, though, the dry version of the grape become a really dynamic player on the Greek red wine scene. Our main wine from Mavrodaphne is a young fruity version matured in clay amphora for about 5 months. Only the best years we produced this oaked single vineyard wine in very limited quantities. The plot is named Daphnis number 1 is planted at an altitude of 650 meters, and in 2020 gave us just 1,700 bottles. The harvest took place in mid-September, and it's a classic red fermentation in steel tank and malolactic fermentation in barrels, aging in both barrels, French oak and clay amphora for 1 year and another 15 months in the bottle before the release. We use both French oak and amphoras because the amphoras help to keep clear the fruit and the oak the structure of the wine. It's a rounded style of the grape variety. Aphrodafne is a grape that has a botanic character, very beautiful, with notes of eucalyptus, laurel, mint, blueberries, and here also we have some spicy aromas and coffee roasted beans. I hope you enjoy. Thank you very much for the tasting, and see you, why not, in Greece. Cheers.
And we're back. Here we go. I was so little, I was behind the tasting notes. But there we go. So we're back. So this is Mavrodaphne. This is Rouleas again. And I just think this is actually, I'm not going to say anything else. We are going to go straight on to Mr. Lee and his WSET. I'm going to put you behind the
right.
thing.
Here we go.
All right. So Lee's going to whip through this, but he's just going to explain the reasoning behind why, if you're doing WSET, and it's good for studying if you're trying to take an exam, but just in your everyday tasting of wine, how you can help build your vocabulary, understand what you like, and get yourself to your next great glass of wine by using this kind of system.
So the important thing with the SAT, and obviously I come from a WSET background, as Jamie's pointed out a couple of times, I now actually work for the WSET. I work in a very specific area of WSET. My favourite thing about the SAT is how you can utilise it to understand what's going on, because I'm a firm believer that if you understand what's going on, you can use that to explore other things. So I'm gonna whip through this, and I will try and very briefly, succinctly summarise why it's that way. So in terms of our intensity, this is a medium wine, and in terms of our colour here, this is a Garnet. So what that's telling me is it's come from a warm place, not necessarily over hot. And remember that here in Greece, we're talking about altitude and surrounded by the sea. So whilst we think of being close to the equator, we've got mitigating circumstances. So that means the colour isn't too intense. That's why it's medium, not deep. Garnet, this reflects a level of aging on the wine, and this is a 2020. So whilst you might go, 4 years isn't particularly old, for Mavrodaphne, normally not made as a big, intense, deep red, that explains why it's moved towards Garnet. In terms of our nose, our intensity, I think is probably medium. It's kind of almost, you want to go between medium and pronounced, but that will be level 3. So that's reflecting good quality of grapes. They've been well processed. Aroma characteristics, primary, quite a lot of dark fruit in here, blackberry, bramble, those kind of characters. We have some secondary characters coming from oak use. So remember, primary is what does the grape taste like? Secondary is what's the winemaker done? Where's this come from? Well, we know this wine has been through oak barrels, and that tends to give us vanilla, cedar, smoke, toast, things like that. I think there's a little bit of tertiary stuff in here, kind of tobacco, again, slightly smoke, maybe a little bit of meat. What does that mean? It means the wine's got some age in the bottle. Okay, that's what tertiary is. So it looks like it's a little bit older because it's Garnet. It smells like it's a little bit older because it's got tertiary. So this wine so far is making sense. Give me 1 second, I'll have a quick taste again. Sweetness, this is dry. Acid is reasonably high. Yeah, I'm going to peg it as high. It's probably more medium plus with a level 3.
But allow that at level 2.
Well, I am WSET. I can do what I want. And where's acidity coming from? Well, the riper the grape, the lower the acidity. Remember, warm climate, but with mitigating circumstances. It's getting cooler at night. It's slowing the ripening, so we're preserving that acidity. Tannin is high. Okay, so we've discussed how we've got thick skins here, the way the skins have been used, that these skins develop, they're quite high in these compounds, so we have a lot of tannin. Alcohol on this is medium, I think. What is the alcohol? I don't know the actual alcohol on the wine. but it feels medium. It doesn't feel too hot or too weighty.
What's the alcohol limit? Hazard a guess?
13.5.
13 on the nose.
Oh, look at that. 13. So medium alcohol. Body, somewhere between medium and full, probably medium bodied. It's not packing you out. For any of you that have done or are going through WSET, you'll know that we talk about body in terms of milk, and you have skim milk, which isn't actually milk, it's just water pretending to be milk. Medium body, semi-skim milk feels a bit weightier. Full body is full fat milk, or Guinness is how I like to think of it. Now, this terms of flavour intensity and characteristics on the palate kind of reflect what's going on the nose, and I think there's probably a more medium intensity on the palate, and those flavours cover similar things to the nose. So we have primary black fruit, brambles, black currants, bit of black cherry, secondary smoke and toast and oak, tertiary kind of tobacco and a little bit of leather. Finish is somewhere between medium and long. As we're at level 2, I'm going to say medium. Quality, this is somewhere between good and very good. I really like this one. I think it's interesting. It presents some complexity in that you've got primary, secondary and tertiary characters. It's balanced. You've not got too much acidity or too much alcohol. The weight of the fruit and the character of fruit balances with that alcohol. That there's no sweetness to be balanced by the acidity, but the acidity is not out of check. There we go. That is a WSET level 2 sat note that I had not pre-prepared.
Fantastic.
Done. Thanks very much.
Lots
I'll be here next week.
We've got clove from that.
Oh, I like clove, yeah.
From the barrels, we've got blueberry, fig, almond. You've got this kind of tertiary kind of bits going on. Those dried fruits. And, jammy, cherry. So it's got a little bit of everything in there, which I really, really kind of like. So, what do we got?
There you are.
He's moving on. So, we're going to go to the Greek quiz. It's a little one this week. So, we're going to give everyone a few moments to get in for those who want to join the quiz.
Come on, who doesn't love a quiz?
Get involved.
Especially when you have the anonymity. What's that word?
You don't have any.
When you have that thing where people don't know who you are, but we do know who you are, but we're not seeing you in the room, so don't worry about it. It's all a bit of fun.
Okay. So, short quiz. I think we're only 6 questions this week. So, as always, we'll give everyone 35 seconds to get in, and then we'll start the quiz. And whoever wins the quiz, give me a shout. It's your responsibility to give me a shout, and you can send a kit for next month's tasting, which is going to be German Riesling Against the World, to a friend who is not already a club member. Just don't go back and forwards between mates. I need some other people to come and hang out with us. So there we go. All right, we're going to give 10 seconds before we get into the quiz. You want to do the countdown?
10. What comes next? 7.
Yeah, good.
6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Okay, question 1 is up. It's timed. Get your answers in. 5 out of 17. 8. Let's see who's answered up here.
Come on, get stuck in. It's all a bit fun.
Don't shout out if you know the answer, Lee. Do you know the answer?
Yes, of course I do. Definitely.
Of course he does. There we are. And the answer was, you can announce it if you want.
Rhoditis.
It was indeed 38%. Get that right. And the leaderboard, Magda's at top. Not only is it about... Oh, it's tied with Bex. It's by the second. It's by the second.
This is tighter than Formula 1.
There we go. The Kalura style of vineyard management, basket vines, is typical of which very windy region?
Oh. Boom. I love the fact that this is virtual, yet there's such a sense of tension.
There is, it's painful.
I mean, usually if I'm in a room, people are tense, so I understand that.
There's some positivity. 56% of people have got the correct answer, which was Santorini. If they weren't in basket vines, there wouldn't be any wine there, would there?
No, there would be nothing.
Magda stays top.
Ooh,
Kathy's in behind.
4-second lead there.
We didn't even talk about this today.
No, we didn't.
So this is all about knowing your Greek wine. Did anyone read up? Did anyone read up before they came in? This is why we love a bit of multiple choice.
Oh, it is, isn't it?
Do you know this one?
I think I do. I think I do.
Of course he does.
I don't know. I mean, I am Mr. Grease for the last 2 minutes.
What, Grease Lightning?
Something like that.
Oh, here we go.
Oh, very
There's
good.
71% after one answer.
Very
And they're
good.
in there. We've got some geniuses in the world.
Some applause there.
Magda. We did talk a bit about Retsina. And we kind of gave I don't think we gave the grape, but I think we gave the answer.
I think the name of the grape was definitely said. It was it came up somewhere, but in the background, which is where many would suggest it should be.
There's some people making it with Roditas now.
They do, yes.
Oh, that's good numbers. 82% have got that right.
Well done.
Oh, it's all close. Magda's there, high speed away.
It's all to play for.
Hey, it's one answer in it. One answer in it. There we are.
Have you told people where you're going?
Well, it's been on the Facebook. And,
I can imagine. Yeah.
Last month is where's Jamie going next week, and it was Austria. I'll give it this one. I'm not going back there. But
maybe he is. It could be a double bluff.
I am. I'm going to Alsace in September.
I'm not going anywhere. Well, I'm going to Spain actually fairly soon. That's a lie.
Oh no, guys, 40% for Austria. I've been to Austria. I'm back from there. I'm off to the US. Alex is flying tomorrow, and then I'm catching up with him on Monday. Oh, Magda's there. Oh, this is going to be a major slip up.
Here we go.
The most important.
Stranger things have happened.
Final question. No pressure, guys.
Yeah.
To be fair, he is watching from home. So if you don't,
come on,
who knows?
I am the WSCT. I can find out where you live.
Either Lee will never be back, or Alex is going to cancel the subscription. It's one of the two. I don't know what's going to go on here. No one asked about.
No pressure. No, they didn't. I think Jamie wins.
Oh!
Who is this 20%? I demand details.
80% have voted Lee. But are they right? Yes, of course they are. So I'll win it. And I think, is this your second month in a row, Magda? So you can send me another one. If you win again next month, that's it. It's all over.
Magda, great work. Superb.
Right. Just while we're having a little chat, we'll pop in wine of the night.
Oh.
So people vote for that. But
good question. Can I ask you your wine of the night?
We'll let everyone else vote first.
Well,
while they're voting, you want to sing a song?
Oh, my word. You want to inflict this on everyone?
Wow. For those who joined us, well, to be fair, we'll do a comparison. Have you got any lyrics?
I have. I can't sing. I can't play the guitar. I can't sing. And I didn't have time to prepare anything. And I thought, what do people like today when it comes to music? They like the greatest hits. So this is a song that has been featured before, but it's so good. We're bringing it back to you. This is Greek Rhythms, The Wine of Your Life. And I sincerely apologise.
Well, last time you did this, Alex could sing.
Another 100 points of wine stuck in the ground. Wine grabs you by the nose, directs you where to go. So pour a glass of turtles, don't ask why. Into a riddle, learn a lesson in Greek wine. It's something unpronounceable, in the end it's right. I hope you had the wine of your life. Help if I can play it, wouldn't it? So take the Robola Lagothius Saline and place them in a rack of good health and good wine. Tastings make memories, Greek wine's on fire. For what they're worth all the time. It's something unpronounceable, in the end they're right. I hope you had the wine of your life. One more time. Something unpronounceable, in the end they're right. I hope you had the wine of your life. I'm so sorry.
Hey, but there we go.
It is. Greek day.
Greek
wine
day
of your life.
Right, let's have a little look. So, wine of the night. To be fair, it's really interesting because there's been so many great wines in so many different styles, and it kind of showcases that there's not anything there or thereabouts. The Malaguzzi is top of the list, but they're all fantastic wines.
Very close.
If you love them, give us a shout. We can, we've got limited stocks on some of them. So if you go, we sold out, give me a shout, get them in. but we'll just pop the prices up so you guys can have a little look how much they are. And, you know, apart from the last one, which is the single vineyard of the Mansion of Daphne, they're all in that similar kind of range. So we've not gone, here's one that's, you know, loads more money and loads more this. So yeah, give us a shout. You know, Greece 24 gives you the where it is free shipping on any order 60 quid and over. Not just this, you can top up with anything else you want. Next month we'll be doing German Riesling Against the World, which should be a lot of fun.
I think I know who's going to win that already.
The world. But there we go. Let's have a little look. Final chat. Anything final in the chat? The song was the best thing we've ever heard. That's phenomenal. Wow. And there he is. Alex Taylor is here. For those who couldn't make it this evening.
Thank you very much.
Very good of him to be here. But yeah, I hope you had a wonderful evening. Thank you very much for joining us as always. Thank you for Lee for popping in and helping out. And also, you know, there was a couple of comments about other wine influencers. But if you think that we should get more wine influencers that you love and follow on the show, tag them and tell them to come and see us, and we'll have a whole wine influencer party drinking lots of cool wine. I think this would be a great stage to get some people getting their favourite wines and their stories with wines in front of you to drink along with them. So tag them, tell them to come and give us a shout. But anyway.
Thanks for having me along.
Oh, it's been an absolute
Thanks for
pleasure,
watching.
sir.
Absolute pleasure as always.
Have a great
Love
night,
it.
everyone. Bye.
Yamas.